This episode is brought to you by That Prize Guy. That Prize Guy is a competition company based in Bangor. Check out their website for some unbelievable prizes at www.thatprizeguy.co.uk. Delighted to be joined by Jamie Conlan today. Jamie, thanks for joining me on Conlan Boxing. How's things now that we're edging closer to this fight week?
Everything's going well. Running smoothly right into fight week where everyone's buzzing. Good feel about the city. The anticipation is in the air, and everyone's looking forward to big time boxing back in Belfast. Plus, the Prize Guy give you that fucking cabinet behind you. That Tracy George, because they're about 100 years old.
He did. I can't believe we're only 1 minute into this and you're already busting my balls. Tell me this, right? As a promoter in this instance, do you get to enjoy these type of events? Or can you just not wait until it's all over and then you look back on it and you enjoy it at that point?
There's moments you get to enjoy. You enjoy the ride kind of thing. The journey is very fun. Stressful, but fun. The worst part, I think, is fight night for me. Fight night because you know all the participants involved. Mick being my brother makes things 10 times worse. Tyrone being someone I've lived with for a few years was very tough, and Paddy being very close. So all personal connections that to people who are in real legitimate 50-50 fights that could make or break their career. So it's hard to enjoy fight night. The build up to the fights, the building of the fights, the building of the card is all fun, and you know you get to. There's ups and downs to it, but you get to enjoy that ride.
I get the impression that you're almost man-made for this type of role. You can talk the talk. I see you up there on presser day, and it's like you know what you're talking about. You don't need to look at anything. It just comes off your tongue. Did you ever see yourself in this role whenever you were first involved in boxing?
No, never. I still don't see myself in this role in a minute. So no, it's just one of them things. You just keep rolling with the punches if you want to bring back the boxing terms, and dealing with whatever hand has been dealt to you. So no, I didn't think after boxing I would still be involved in boxing. It was always something I loved since I was a kid. So to be involved in it, as I said, I'm enjoying the ride. I'm enjoying every day, except for fight days because they're crazy. But I'm enjoying every day, and everything that I'm doing within boxing is a blessing.
We'll begin with some of the news about the Conlan Boxing stable. So at the very start, it was Michael. Then you kind of open things up. You signed two prospects in Kurt Walker and Kieran Malloy, both signed with Top Rank as well as Michael, obviously. Now you've recently just added three new signings. So you've added Tyrone McKenna, you've added Paddy McCrory, and you've added Lewis Crocker. How excited are you first and foremost about those new signings?
I'm very I think I've waxed lyrical for years about Lewis Crocker. I think he is pound for pound one of the biggest punchers to come out of the country at this current time. He's definitely one of, if not the biggest puncher in the country. No one has seen the true potential of Lewis. I think we've only seen about 20% of what he can do, and it's all natural. He's been winning fights at a European standard, like Alicante, without real guidance, real drive behind him, and this is kind of something that I'm very excited to be part of. I'm very, very excited to be working with Lewis. Very, very excited to his future. I think he's got a massive future. Like the world is his oyster. Head right, training right, mentally, physically. If he gets it all right, this kid could be the next star. And I've been saying that for years. I remember saying David Kelly a few years ago when he was just on the cusp of breaking through before his first headline act. So that is something I'm really excited about. It's the start. I think there's still a long term to go. He's only crawling at this stage. He'll be sprinting pretty soon. Tyrone is my brother. He is another Conlan. He has jumped in the photos, family photos, pretending he was a brother before and stuff like that. So who wouldn't want to be part of Tyrone McKenna's career and Tyrone McKenna's journey? Because it is mad. It is mad. He is probably the most exciting fighter in the country. He is someone who gives you grey hairs when you watch him, because you don't know what's next. He talks all the talk that he's going to not go into crazy wars, whatever. But he does. I'm very excited to be part of what is left. This is the latter stages of Tyrone's career. I'm grateful that he's chosen me to kind of the work together on these stages to try and get him back into massive fights. Chris Jenkins' fight is what we kind of spoke about, that we wanted for August 6th and be the first fight with Conlan Boxing. And we'll ride this, we'll enjoy this crazy roller coaster with Tyrone. And then Paddy, I think, is living the dream. Paddy McCrory is living the dream. And what I say to any young boxer who's kind of starting out without the big backing of Olympic Games or come off medal or anything like that, there, just watch Paddy McCrory, because Paddy McCrory outworks everyone. And I always said, when you were looking at other fighters, you would have 10 Paddy McCrorys over some kind of superstar, because Paddy McCrory will give you 110%. He's like a joy to work with. He understands the game. He understands where he's at in the world. And I think he's on the cusp for a big, massive fight. He's in the top 10 of the world with the WBA. He beats Marco Antonio Paraban, and we have purse bids 3 days later for the EU title. Like, the Paddy McCrory story is one that, it's insane, because no one's seen it coming. He was fighting in the Devonish. He was fighting in real small hall shows way before, even when I was still fighting. And no one really paid attention. And he just kept trucking along. A great, honest pro, a great, honest person, a great, hard-working family man, and delighted to be working with him.
Jesus, listening to that, I'm ready to go, I think. August 6th, if you need a replacement. For Lewis on August 6th, what can we expect?
So Lewis is only in an 8-rounder on August 6th to get him back in. He's been out of the ring a long time. He started with a new coach, Adam Booth, who, off the record, speaks in one of the highest regards if I've heard him labeling a prospect. He attaches his name to massive fighters that he's worked with in the past and thinks that he can emulate their success. So we're starting it off in an 8-rounder, building him back in. We have an Argentinian opponent in Carlos Aquino, who will provide a test. Listen, it's no real walk in the park. I think the guy is 1911, but 1911 at a good level. South American, tough, doesn't really get stopped often. So it's a nice wee test. Get him broken in, vat him, new surroundings, great sparring. Sparring Josh Kelly, Liam Williams, Abbas Baru, Shiloh De Freitas. He's really jumped in. Booth Gym is why I thought it was going to be a perfect setup for him, was the sparring. He's going to mix it world-class level every other day. He's going to be learning, picking up off them. So this is the start of the reboot in Lewis and this new camp and this new training setup and new surroundings, living away from home for the first time. So that's what we're expecting, and then we're hoping to get him back out before the end of October in a meaningful fight. So there is 3 promoters interested in signing with him. So he's getting out on a Conlan Boxing show at the minute, but I believe we will be signing him with a promotional stable pretty soon.
Hopefully some news on that soon then. We'll move on to the Paddy's fight. Paddy's in a real 50-50 fight. How do you think this one goes?
Paddy is a potential firefight. Marco Antonio Paraban has been there, done it, got the t-shirt, returned the t-shirt and got it again. He's been around the block. Age is just a number according to the Mexicans. They're very, very, very confident when I speak to Marco's manager, Paco Durman. They are coming to win. So I believe this fight doesn't go longer than 6 rounds. Paddy McCrory, when you watch him on tape, you think it's a walk in the park. He does nothing different, does nothing special, but he is blessed with power. and people don't realize how hard he hits till they get in there, and it's too late. So, and he's improving every time. Took himself off to spar Jose Alberton for this camp. It's the first camp I think he truly invested in himself. Again, which is a testament to him at this stage of his career. I think we're in for a firefight. I think with these 3 fights, the 3 main event fights, I think any one of them can be fighted tonight for different reasons. And Paddy McCrory against Marco Antonio Paraban is a potential firefight and a potential banana skin for Paddy, where he's got a purse bid coming up a few days after. So he's to be really aware of what Paraban is coming with, especially early.
When you talk about potential firefights, the next one sticks out at me like a sore thumb. Tyrone McKenna and Chris Jenkins. Talk to me about that. That just seems like it's going to be a war from the get-go.
Bloodbath. I think it's going to be a bloodbath. Both cut when the wind changes direction, can cut their eyes. So it just happened strange. Tyrone, we were in the midst of trying to do the IBO World title at light welterweight for Tyrone against Antonio Menses of Mexico. And it fell through. And around about the time it was falling through, Tyrone had said to me, I'm thinking about moving up to welterweight. So you're already looking at welterweights. And you're trying to think, welterweight, exciting fight, what kind of, trying to give everything. Because Tyrone is the kind of guy, if I go and say such and such, he's not great, but you'll get an easy win, he throws it back in my face like it's an insult. So I say Chris Jenkins, and he jumps at it. As soon as we mentioned to Chris Jenkins and his team, they jump at it. Within 5 minutes, came back, which is always scary when it's your own fighter, because you're going to yourself, there's no fear on the other side. So both lads jumped at it. Both lads see this as a massive opportunity. It is a real crossroads fight. Both coming off losses, both coming off stoppage losses as well. So the winner has a chance to rebound against a real credible name and a real warrior. Both of them have that warrior tag because they've been in great fights. And the loser, is very, very, very hard to come back with, both over 30. It's very hard to come back. Tyrone knows stepping up the welterweight will bring the best out of him, because he's depleted himself in the last numerous amount of fights of every little reserve to make 140. He's about 6'2" as a drip, and making 140 was a killer for him at the very end. So 147, it's a dream. It's what he's he's used to be sparring at. When he's sparring great, this is kind of where we're going to see the best of him. So he promises me this is going to see a revigorated Tyrone 2.0, and Chris Jenkins has a bit between his teeth, because he knows where his career goes after this is not somewhere where it's very hard to come back from. So these two lads will be fighting. This is everything on their line. I think careers are on the line in this fight, which will bring excitement and chaos.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I think everyone is. I think that's the fight that maybe the fans want most, other than the mixed fight, because Tyrone puts on such a show. So we're looking forward to it. We'll move on to
Tyrone is a cult hero, like ridiculous cult hero. He transcends the sport a wee bit because of he's a weirdo. He runs about in random clothes. If you looked at Tyrone, you'd never think that guy's a boxer. So he is a cult hero, and he
deserves a mural. To be honest, he does deserve a mural now.
He's the best looking boxer I've ever seen in my life as well.
I wouldn't go that far, no, but he's up there. Moving on to Kurt Walker. He's had a great start to his pro career under the watchful eyes of Adam H and Charlie in the booth gym. He seems to be improving every day from what we see. What did you make of his first 2 appearances as a pro?
I thought the first one was exceptional. He took to it like a duck to water. I didn't think he would transition as quickly because he was in the amateurs so long, and he transitioned very, very smooth. The way he moved, the way he set things up, you could tell he was in an experienced gym. The second fight, I was disappointed. He was disappointed, and I think the whole team was disappointed. And I think there was mistakes made around everyone. There was mistakes made by me, there was mistakes by coaches, and mistakes made by Kurt, and we all had to hold our hands up after because we underestimated the job at the task at hand, and we spoke about it like it was thing. It's learning, and I believe that fight really gave him the kick up the backside, and everyone the kick up the backside to kind of reevaluate and reignite what we're trying to achieve here with Kurt. And stylistically, he's very hard to beat, and he's been learning every day in the deep end with Mick, with Harlem, with people heavier. So he is improving. And when you see the difference between the first spar when they went in the camp and the most recent spar, Kurt has came a long way in 3 fights. So I'm excited to see this. It's another thing. He's fighting Marcos Martinez from Argentina, 18-3, which is a serious test at this stage of his career. His third fight, fighting an 18-3 record with a fighter that comes to win, who sees Kurt as a scalp to again reignite his career. So it's an intriguing one for Kurt, but Kurt needs this kind of opponent to be the best Kurt. When Kurt is fighting a lower opponent, he kind of stoops to that level and underestimates him. This is the kind of opponent that keeps him on edge, and that's when you're going to see the best Kurt Walker.
Move on to Kieran Malloy. He's been very unfortunate in the start of his pro career. You probably are the perfect man to get him because of the adversity you faced when you were a pro at times. And Kieran touched on that when we were in New York. Does that stand him in good stead going forward, all this adversity at the beginning of his career?
I think it does. I think mentally, he's one of the strongest fighters I've been around because of how he delves into everything he does. He's 2 feet in. He's not half-arsed. He's all in, invested on himself, invested on his career, invested on the future, knows the long-term goals, but also can see he's already thinking 3 steps ahead on certain things. And New York was devastating. How he took to it was a testament to him and told me more than I would have learned from the fight, if I'm being honest. He's faced adversity and various different things, the delay in being in camp, but he's also learning, and he doesn't realize he's learning. He's been around AJ in a camp for Usyk. He's been around React pouring defenses for European titles. So he is picking up these wee things that they're putting down, and he doesn't even realize it. So every camp that he is in with others, he is improving as a fighter. Very hard to get him matched. We've had 2 fighters fall through. We're near enough there with his opponent this moment in time. We have a good record of the opponent ready to go through. Hopefully it gets passed by the board. But again, Kieran is a long-term project that you can't help but be excited about, because in terms of, we're saying about Crocker's heavy hands, Kieran Malloy, anyone who's been in the pads with him, in the ring with him sparring, the first thing they say is his strength, physical, and what his punch output. So it's something that I'm very excited to show in Belfast, in Ireland, his first fight at home. And what I've told him is that his first 2 fights that he has had planned, his debut, everyone's a nervous wreck on their debut. Then New York, you're fighting in Madison Square Garden in your second fight. That's a nerve, that's insane. This fight, he doesn't have no nerves. It's Belfast, it's Ireland, yes, but it's not. The focus isn't really on him. This is where I think you'll see probably him relax a bit more and be able to put his punches together and show what he's been learning in the gym, because we're going to be going to Galway hopefully but this year. That's going to be different. That's going to be another nerve-wracking experience for him, I'm sure. But again, it's a testament what we're building both mentally and physically for the long-term project. So very, very excited about Kieran. People haven't seen him yet, and they probably, this will be the one I think he'll explode onto.
Definitely. We'll move on to Michael. March 12th was a roller coaster of emotions. On one hand, Michael fought the fight of his life for 11 rounds, and on the other, there was a devastating knockout in the final round, the final seconds. How do you try and build him up after a defeat like that?
We focus we highlight the positives as well as the negatives. We highlight the negatives first and what he done wrong, and then rectify them going forward. But in this case, the positives outweigh the negatives treble, more. He was exceptional. He produced a masterclass like we said he would. But he was unbelievable all camp. We had a lot to learn throughout the camp. There was, until he got the virus, for the few days he was really sick, he was exceptional. And usually you like to have 1 or 2 days where you're not great in sparring, but every day he was great in sparring until he got the virus. He had one bad day, and then he was back again. But a lot to learn from it. In a different scenario than he's ever been in his life, in terms of the atmosphere around, the build-up around it, how we both reacted. We learned a lot from that prior to the fight. But I think he showed class, humility beyond his years, and I was very, very proud of him, both as a fighter, but as a brother and as a man and as a father, how he handled himself, how he handled the situation. He's learned a lot in terms of in the ring, outside the ring, and what life can bring to you. Everyone I remember seeing something from Joe O'Neill from IrishBoxing.com said, like in 2019 or something, Michael Conlan will have an easy world title win. And you're going like, that's an insult. It was an insult, and it's something that's always it's annoyed me. So his maiden world title challenge is in the opponent's backyard in a hostile territory and on the rival broadcaster. We don't get anything we want. And he goes out and performs the way he performs, and then what happens? The heartbreak at the end. It's cruel, very, very cruel, but it's life, and we have to get on with it, and we learn from it. And Lee Wood showed resilience that we all knew he had, but he showed resilience even more so. And that's kind of something that the reason why Mariaga was the opponent for this one is because again, this is a resilient opponent. Only been stopped by Lomachenko, one of the best boxers ever to walk this face of earth. He's been beaten, yes, but beaten at world level, and is always in a fight. So Michael will have to learn from the mistakes that he made against Lee Wood in terms of letting Lee Wood back in the fight when he could have closed it and made it easier, and showed him against Miguel Mariaga. And it's what intrigues me about this fight and this match, and it's what I'm nervous for as a brother, but I'm also excited for as a manager to see him perform against Mariaga.
Mick seems they've got a lot hungrier since the defeat, just from speaking to him on a personal level and a professional capacity. He's just a lot hungry. He's a bit different to what he was before. Do you see this all as part of his journey and just another chapter on his way to a world title at some point?
Hungry, mature, experienced. There's not much more. So when you try and think what's the worst thing could happen, that's the worst thing that happened in Nana. So what, we've experienced the worst thing that happened. Everything else now, we can deal with it. So Mariaga, I think, is a fantastic opponent because he's going to test Michael in the same way Lee Wood is going to test Michael. We probably were immature before it. First time being at the big stage, best fighter Ireland's ever produced as an amateur. But again, we're in a different game. It's snooker and pool. It's a sprint and a marathon. It's different. So we learned a lot. He learned a lot in how to handle things. He learned how to handle his emotions, and he learned a lot in terms of outside the ring, mentally, how to deal with things. That was a real tough loss to deal with, but he has dealt with it in a way that I didn't imagine he could deal with it, and I'm very, very proud of him for that fact. He was the better fighter, no doubt about it, but he did not win the fight, and that's the harsh reality of it.
We know how hard you pushed for the Lee Wood rematch, and they didn't want it, so they just said no. Why do you think that was? And do you think maybe it can still happen down the line at some point?
I definitely think it'll happen down the line. I hope he gets Leo Santa Cruz and he beats Leo Santa Cruz, and then we can do it then. I don't blame him. Listen, you cannot fault the man. He has just been through 11 and a half rounds of hell. Whether he likes to admit it or not, it was 11 and a half rounds of hell. And for about 6 of them rounds, he can't remember. More, he can't remember. But would you want to go straight into another fight like that? No, you wouldn't. You want to kind of go on and try and unify titles and create a wee bit of history and do stuff like that. And you cannot fault him for doing it. He's been through a hard slog. He's earned his right to go and do it and make that decision. Because I wouldn't want to jump straight in and fight Michael again. Because a lot of things that they said that Michael couldn't do, he done. And the thing he said he was going to stop Michael in the 12th round, he done as well. So that was kind of, a lot of things that but he's smart enough to know deep down inside the difference between the two fighters. Does he beat Leo Santa Cruz is a tough ask, but who can write him off at this moment in time? And for play, I would like him to beat him. Really would like him to beat him because he seemed like an alright guy. He's a fucking prick on social media, but that's to me the value of the man goes down. But if you don't carry the same person in real life, but he's alright in real life, respectable in real life, and gets that back. So yes, they will meet again. I believe they will meet again because Lee wants to right the wrongs that he and others are showing to him and make it easier. And I get that as well. And Michael obviously wants to right the wrongs of the defeat. So it makes sense. TV will want to do it as well. It's a no-brainer across the board. Fight of the year, one of the best fights people have seen. And let's do it again sometime.
This one's by no means your normal comeback fight. Most people in boxing are looking at it and they're turning their nose up to ask why Michael's in such a tough fight in a comeback fight, especially the way that he got beat the last time out. What do you predict? August 6th, do we see Michael Conlan 2.0? Do we see a different Michael Conlan to what we've seen before?
I think we see a very technical, very astute, very mature performance from Michael. Smart. I think he'll be put in certain circumstances and situations that Lee had him in as well. Then you have to learn from that and rectify them and be better and not make mistakes in them. So I do believe we'll see a very clean, very precise, very smart and tactical fight from Michael. And I'm excited for it because of that. I think a masterclass of skills is what we'll see on display.
Moving on down the undercard now, we get the Paddy Donovan and Tom Hill. It's an Ireland versus England clash. What excites you most about this one?
I'm excited because it's the first time we're going to see Paddy tested. Andy wanted a test for this one through a few names out, and Tom Hill caught it. So Tom Hill's coming off a big win against another Irishman in Ronan Date. He comes with confidence. He comes, I think, a few supporters as well coming across from Sunderland or Newcastle. It's very, very intriguing because he's a tricky fighter, but he can also punch a bit and fight a bit. Paddy, we've all seen the skills through youth level. This is, I think, his first test as a man, against a man. And it's going to be interesting, I think, in that regard, because he might get hit. Hard has already spawned to that. There's a lot of different boxes that need to be ticked at this stage, and he's 8-0 now, and it's the first wee test and the first real step up. First time doing 8 rounds. He might be in different circumstances than he's ever been before in his life. So, second time doing 8 rounds, but yeah, he will be. Listen, this one's flying under the radar. I know we're talking about the other 50-50s in McGivern McGinn and stuff flying on the radar, but this one is really flying under the radar because Tom Hill comes with confidence and comes to win. He's not coming in as an opponent. Paddy Donovan is a prospect who's going to learn a lot on Saturday.
Whenever you were making this next fight, you were telling me how good it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I wasn't too sure of it because I didn't really know the amateur background of Tony McGlynn and stuff. How do you see this one going in this All-Ireland affair with James McGivern?
I think, firstly, fair play to both lads taking it. This is not something a 3-0 fighters take. But when you take fights like this, the rewards outweigh the the negatives on it. So it's the positives I said outweigh the negatives. It's a fight that I think will be very, very technical. McGlynn is a real slickster. He has been learning, as we said about earlier, the lads in the gyms. He's been learning in the gym of Sean McComb, Tyrone McKenna, and Gary Colley. Three southpaws who are at a great standard and a great level. James McGivern, I've always raved about since the amateur days. I thought, when he signed with MTK, I thought, yes, that's a massive signing, that he could have been going to the Olympic Games when he turned pro. No one has seen as a pro how heavy-handed he is, but he's very heavy-handed. He doesn't waste much. He has been around a bit more than Tony, has got a bit more exposure than Tony, and it's in his backyard, so he'll have a bit of pride there. I don't know if Tony has a big crowd coming up, but there's a few dubs on the card and as well with Thomas Carthy and stuff. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm stuck on who to pick, because I think McGivern has the amateur pedigree. McGlynn has mixed it at a higher weight. How will that factor into it when he's coming down on the weight? He's fought the likes of Emma Brennan and stuff as an amateur. The lads say he was just lazy, and he's now got the bit between his teeth. And the kick up where arse is needed is to fight James McGivern. McGivern has finally got a name to match what his talent needs. So it is a fight that I think purists will love, but it's also a fight that genuine casual fans will love as well, because it will be sheer talent on display, and they both come with high amateur pedigrees.
With two of Mark Dunlop's fighters on the show next, they're up against each other in a battle of Belfast. Many are tipping it to be a potential fight of the night contender, from what I'm hearing. How do you see that one going in terms of Ruan Farrell and Colin Murphy?
I don't see it going the distance, number one. I think there is some pride at stake with the two lads. They have no bad blood between each other, but they have bragging rights, especially in North Belfast. Murph holds a 2-0 lead against him in the amateurs, but Ruan Farrell is full of confidence and full of beans, and is shifting tickets left, right, and centre. Murphy also has done a big crowd of tickets, but they're both gentlemen. They don't fight like gentlemen, but they talk like gentlemen, real respectful, nice kids. I don't think it goes more than 4 rounds, and I just think it'll be crazy. I think emotions of being on a big stage could play a part. I think emotions of being on a stage against a fellow North Belfast man with a bit of added needle from the amateurs will play a part. And I think both of them will go hell for leather in the middle of the ring, and only one man will remain standing after 4 rounds.
There's something very exciting about a heavyweight being on a show in Ireland. It just doesn't happen that often. So we've got Thomas Carty as his first outing as a pro on August 6th. What does he bring to the table on a stacked card like this?
A wee bit of class as well. He has a wee bit of class about him. I like Thomas. I've liked him from the amateurs, and when he turned pro, I was very happy to see him turn pro, because we need big guys. We need big guys to bring the eyes, and he brings the eyes and the knockouts. He's a good slickster, but he can punch, and he's mixed it up well so far as a pro. Had a good amateur pedigree, and his sparring is world class. He's sparring the best fighters in the world. He's sparring the likes of Joshua, Chisora, Dillian White. These are big guys, and their spars where you have to be on your A game every time, or you can get sparked out. So he's learning a lot in his young career as a pro in the gym, in the sparring. There's no need to take crazy risks at this stage of his career. Build a record, learn in the gym, and then when the time comes, take a big sell. But I like him. He was on Mix Undercard in Nottingham. He brings a great crowd, great vocal fan base, and he's welcomed in Belfast. And I think the Bows in these sports, the Bows fans will be up as well, because he's shifting a good lot of tickets as well.
We're looking forward to seeing Fergus Quinn again after last year's win on the field undercard. How does Fergus get on in this fight, and who's he up against?
Fergus was out of the ring a year to the day. He had done his hand bad and had to have an operation on his hand. So it's been a long comeback from Fergus. So he's only going to get a 4-rounder on this one against the most active journeyman, I think, at this moment in time, Seamus Devlin. So it'll be someone who is going to come, wily old veteran, to try and. Fergus is very heavy-handed. That mix between welter and late middle coming through in the country will bring some fantastic fights in the years to come. And I think people are probably looking at the back of McGivern and McGlynn and saying, I want a piece of that, and Murphy and Reid and Farrell, and saying, I want a piece of that. I want that exposure. I want them big nights. So Fergus, I think, can be in that mix pretty soon with the likes of Owen Duffy and Dan McDonaghan and people like that. So there's fights there to be made for Fergus, and I'm excited to see him back because, again, genuine nice guy.
Last but not least, the bird is the word, and Sean McComb returns onto the lights in Belfast. I know you're delighted to see Sean on this because we spoke about it for quite some time. What can we expect from him on August 6th?
I didn't want to tell him he was on it for some time as well. Lee is managing him, and he kept messaging me, and I kept saying next week I might have something next week. Just hold it, because I wanted to get them something between the teeth. Sean McComb has been training 365 days and counting for a fight. He's had fights fall through with O'Hara Davis, one or two others. I wanted to do Sean McComb and Ray Moylette for this. That was what I really wanted to do. But Pascal Collins didn't want to take that fight. They went a different route. I think they're going to try and go to America. I think Pascal's on holiday or something along those lines. But Sean McComb and Ray Moylette, I think, is a massive fight for Ireland. I think it's a fight that we should demand for Ireland. And I think both lads will excel in something like that. But talent-wise, again, like we're speaking about talent in the city, and it's insane that we have so much talent. And Sean McComb is in there. For as naturally gifted as a fighter as you can get, he can go on the bench for 7 days straight and go into the ring in day 8 and perform like me after 12 weeks. You know, he's so naturally gifted. But it's good to see him. He has a bit between the teeth now. He has a young boy now, and he has settled down with his missus, and they're looking to get a house. So he sees what needs to be done now in boxing to make a career of it, to make a livelihood of it, to make something for his family. And I expect something in due course after this fight. We're hoping to get a nice wee bit of a test for him to shake off the rust against someone who's going to provide him, tasks and prevent different looks for him. So yeah, very, very excited to see him back. He brings a bit of a crazy. I'm sure he's annoyed most that it's not in the Falls Park because he can't just walk from his ma's house in turf into the ring, Connor Burns or something. So yeah, excited to see him back.
From listening to what you've had to say here, I'm absolutely buzzing for next Saturday night. I know everyone else is as well. The biggest card in Irish history, and it'll be a night to remember. So if you haven't got your tickets, there's very limited tickets remaining. So make sure you get on Ticketmaster to get those. Last but not least, if you can't make it and you're in the UK, we have you covered because it's going to be on Fight TV. Jamie, is that right?
So we've done a deal with Fight TV. They'll have the UK and Ireland rights. I think they're going to put it on Virgin Sport in the south of Ireland, but yet to be confirmed. But yeah, Fight TV have got the UK and Ireland rights as well as the worldwide rights outside of ESPN in the States. ESPN are given as a big backing in the States with Christina Puncher, Jamel Hearn as the commentary team, and they'll be doing the commentary team for Fight TV. So yeah, we done it last year. We had great numbers, great success, and again this year. And it's a good app that you have. Don't use your Fire Stick or anything else that you are all trying these days on the piracy thing. But yeah, it's $7.99, which is about £5 sterling, and you get
price of a pint.
Price of a pint, and most likely the off portion we will have announced on YouTube. So the fights that are not shown on Fight TV, which is about 4 fights starting from 5 o'clock, they'll be on YouTube to be announced, on a YouTube channel to be announced.
Well, thanks a million for joining me, Jamie, and we'll catch up with you again next week on Fight Week.